Happy week 2, all you FBT60 people. I've already been getting some good reservations tallied up, and I'm starting to keep score. You guys are doing an awesome job jumping on top of that, and it's been an exciting competition so far. For today's video blast, I wanted to talk a little bit about the touch and go overhead portion of the exercise plan, because that does tend to be a little bit more of a tricky thing, especially with regards to timing and good contact. So right off the bat, let's make sure that we are practicing our continental grip for use of our overhead. So remember, we're looking at this ridge right here for our right knuckle to rest upon when we are going into our continental grip. All right, the touch and go aspect is as soon as you start the exercise drill, you're supposed to dash from either the mid-court or service line up to the net to give it a touch. As soon as you touch it, hopefully the ball will then be fed from the ball machine in kind of a lob that would land about mid-court or again the service line. Now, when that ball is first launched from the ball machine, the first thing to practice is that unit turn. So when you are facing the net, let's make sure and reduce our profile by turning our shoulder out. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to lock that racket in place behind our head and throw up that guide hand so we can begin tracking the ball. Okay, we want to try to catch that ball at its height. So as you are tracking the ball and it begins to lose elevation, that's when we're going to transition from behind our head and we're going to bring our racket out and we're going to try to do that full extension. Okay, with our continental grip, it's very important that we pronate our wrist out as much as possible. So there it is, pronated out, so we can make sure and get a nice flat racket face when we go to make contact with the ball. Okay, a lot of times if we don't turn it out all the way, what we'll do is we'll accidentally frame it or we'll send the ball in an angle we don't necessarily plan on. Okay, the second thing, or third thing I should say, is the timing. Timing is very difficult with the overheads. A couple tips that you guys can utilize to make sure that you can improve your timing. First is you can let the overhead bounce. So as long as that ball is high enough that after the bounce, the elevation gets it so you can still get full extension, you could let the overhead bounce. That might be one tip. The second thing is you can also slow your racket speed down. So instead of trying to just crush the overhead like I see a lot of people do, instead slow that racket speed down and instead focus on good angle and good contact points. So those two things could be good tips to help you slow down that racket speed. In addition to that unit turn and making sure we're turning our body to return the overhead, a lot of times obviously the overhead is going to drive us backwards. So it's very important that we don't backpedal. Okay, we have that flat profile and we backpedal. That could potentially be dangerous as you lose your balance and can fall backwards. So instead, when we do that shift, we can practice a dash this way or a shuffle. It makes it a little bit easier for us to cover more ground backwards if we turn and shift our body as opposed to backpedaling. Okay, so make sure and try to practice some of these tips to improve some of your performance with that touch and go overhead. I look forward to hearing from more of you guys soon, and I'm excited for what comes next.